Welcome back to Hellbound Garage. In the last video with the Tundra flatbed slash tray build, I left you off as I was going somewhere. Well, where I was going was pick up that big old sheet of diamond plate steel for the bed and hopefully like the headache rack slash backer portion of the bed that's going to be over there. So I'll show you what I got going on right now. And I already got it set up to cut. I've got my measure for where I need to go to get it the right width and the right length. This section should be enough, if not more, than to cover this section. I'm pretty sure it's like 12 inches too wide, long for that, but I got that chunk for that too. We also got my little Best Arc plasma cutter. I've found it in my search on the YouTube for a plasma cutter that was a decent price, that wasn't going to break the bank, but wasn't like a $50 plasma cutter that would burn my building down. So because I already have electrical problems with this building, it's probably going to take a little while to cut, because about 10 to 15 seconds on 110 the Best Arc does pop the breaker. But I'll get you guys set up and we'll get this piece cut out so we can move on to the next thing.
So I just wanted to note a couple of things real quick on this while the time lapse is going. The first thing is the angle iron that you see on the diamond plate. That is for a straight edge. When you're doing plasma or torch, you're going to want a straight edge. It makes it so your cut doesn't wander and your product comes out much cleaner. You are still going to have to deal with slag, but then you don't have to grind down to a straight line. All you got to do is grind off the slag. The second thing you'll note is the white line. That is my cut line. That is actually a soapstone line that was placed after I had laid it out with chalk line. And it just is another way to make your cut that much quicker and that much cleaner. Overall, the torch method in this case worked. It wasn't as clean as what plasma would have been. But unfortunately, because the diamond plate goes from 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch, depending on if you're going over the diamonds in the pattern, my plasma cutter just couldn't deal with it.
As you saw in the time lapse, I switched over from the plasma to the oxyacetylene tank torch. And that's because the plasma, with the amount of power I can give it right now with the current electrical in my garage, I couldn't burn through the material. So I switched to the oxyacetylene. It takes a little bit longer, but overall I got it all cut. And if you look, let me flip you around. We've got the sheet cut. I went ahead and I aligned it up with the frame. And then I put a couple of tack welds to hold it flat in the location that it's going to permanently be at. So I want this top to be removable so I can service anything underneath, or maybe add things to the flatbed later down the line, maybe like storage tanks, or I want to put toolboxes on the end. Either way, the top needs to come off to make that easier. So I'm not going to weld it to the frame like a lot of conventional flatbeds. Instead, I'm going to use these guys. So they're countersunk head screws or bolts, depending on how you want to call it. I couldn't find exactly what I wanted, so I just picked up a bunch of these, and these are going to be put every 6 inches throughout the angle iron, and then I will weld the nut on the bottom side of it to make it a captive bolt, or captive nut, sorry. And then on the ends, I think it's just this end here, and then maybe the middle, depending on how much noise it makes after it's all bolted in. I'm going to drill holes. I'll remove the top, and then I'll drill the holes bigger in the square tube. That way the nut can sit flush with the tube, and I can weld it there. That way everything stays flat. And the whole reason for this, the way of doing it this way, is because I wanted to use riv nuts, but the riv nuts wouldn't let the metal sit flush. It'd stick up higher than what it is right now. So that's what we're gonna go with. So on to a lot of drilling. Yay!
I'm gonna go down swinging. I get lost in the feeling. I just need a win. I'm gonna find my change, I wanna play the game. You wanna sink or swim, I'm gonna go down swinging. Look deep within, I get lost in the field, I just need a win. I'm going off, I know it's time to make a change, and I can take the pain. You wanna sink or swim, I'm gonna go down swinging. Look deep within, I get lost in the field, I just need a win. I'm gonna find my meaning, I can make a change, I wanna play the game, yeah.
As you saw, it is mostly secured. Let me turn you around here real quick. So we got one line, got another line over there, and then I got all the holes drilled for here. But we are gonna wait on the backside because the backside is the encapsulated nuts. So until I can pull the bed off and fully weld them, I'm just gonna leave it as it is. That way no moisture gets into the otherwise sealed tube. I do need to go get another bit for countersinking because the bit I bought died right away. It was cheap. I should have bought in better quality. These three tools right here helped make getting that straight as possible really easy because I was able to take the measure of the square tube and the angle that's underneath this, take that total measure, lay a chalk line, and then measure from the edge of this, the chalk line. I don't know if you can really see it, it's kind of still there. And then in between there, I split it, and that's how I ran the bolts. So now until I'm ready to take the bed off and get all the nuts welded on the bottom side, we're gonna move on to the next thing, and the next thing is gonna be the headache rack, or the portion that goes back there. Well, the weather hasn't exactly been cooperating lately, so we actually managed to get the bottom section of the headache rack done, and if you look, it lines perfectly up with the window. Now this took a lot of spacing to get right, and it doesn't actually have the amount of spacing that I would like. I didn't take into account the angle of the bed when it came to the upper portion, especially right here. The rest of this will be fine, but this section here was definitely tight, but there's enough clearance there, and this is like sturdy, like the whole truck moves before this does because it's the same tubing that the rest of the bed is made out of. But we got it all lined up, leveled, welded in place, and throughout the truck I even managed to get most of the ends capped off, where, let's see, like down here, all these were open and now they're capped off. So now that that's done, I feel like we need to get that section all filled in. Seems like a pretty good finger snap moment because it's literally the same process as this, rather than we're going to be welding it, because I don't need to remove that to service anything. So yeah, let's get her done. All right, like that, it is all in place. Well, for the most part, there are 3 sides, 1, 2, and 3, that are all welded up. I'm waiting to finish welding the bottom section until I take this other top panel off, just so I don't accidentally weld them together. So, and if you can't tell, I started cutting all the pieces for the top part of the headache rack. I measured from the base here up to here, and I kind of got it figured out where I want the top section to land, because I do have a possible plan for the future on what I want to do for like the cab area that'll tie into part of the bed. So it was pretty simple. So let's get that all tacked into place. It is done for the most part. I ended up having an issue. I'm not sure if video is going to be able to tell, but yeah, you can't really tell. But the angle changed. I had it at a 0, and then I started to weld, just like a lot of welding stuff does. It tweaked, and so it is 1 degree from 0, and unfortunately I can tell. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do in order to fix that, but for the time being it's there. But I'll either cut it or heat it up and get it bent back to where it's supposed to be. Now, I also ended up doing a couple more things during that time frame. One is this guy. So this guy goes about right here, and that is going to be what holds my spare tire. Now, I'm not entirely sure how like the Australians do it, but this is essentially what I came up with. So I'm going to put a couple of holes here with some riv nuts on the backside, put some nuts on there, and that should hold it. And then I'll either put all thread or a big bolt out, and it'll sit in the middle of here with a plate on it that's slotted. That way that mount will be good to probably a 35 to 37 inch tire. The other thing that I did was I got these made. The last of the mounts. So now there are 6 mounts. 1, 2, 3, and then the other 3. And that'll give me a nice sturdy bed, and I know that it's not going to go anywhere. It'll be nice and safe and strong for whatever I decide to haul on it. Now I will have to finish weld all of that stuff, but you know, for the most part, it's all there. So I think I'm going to end this video here, and then in the next one, we will probably get the bed off the truck so I can start prepping it for a coat of epoxy primer and then the top coat for it. Yeah, that's what you can look forward to in the next video on the flatbed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Until the next one.